Welcome in to Betting Above the Rim, pro basketball today. I'm Kevin Walsh, of course, with Coach James Young here on SportsGrid. We get this opportunity, JY, to look at some of the happenings in this pro basketball landscape, some WNBA headlines that we're following, but also some surprising moves within the NBA landscape. Bradley Beal, maybe not as surprising, but is going to find himself with the LA Clippers. Some interesting stuff out of Philadelphia. Paul George, Joel Embiid, what we're hearing around there. And Damian Lillard, JY, back in Portland after that buyout with the Milwaukee Bucks made him a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, it was, when you really peel back and think about it, part of the thing that I think Milwaukee was upset about is that Damian Lillard said he wanted to rehab in Portland. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that he played such a long time with the Portland Trail Blazers, he's still got, his kids out there. If you want to talk about him wanting to win a championship, this is not what it's about. This is about what he feels comfortable doing. He got 3 years, $42 million. He's rehabbing back home, so he doesn't have to leave. He's probably got his house still there. So it kind of changes the thought process of what we think about Damian Lillard. This is a guy that went to the Western Conference Finals one time. It did not work in Milwaukee. And for him, this is about the wrap-up of his career. So you start, it's almost like, where do you put him in regards to the players that played a long time in one city and didn't win a championship? If you go back to the earlier eras, right, where you talk about Ewing or Malone or Stockton or Miller, or even though he got traded a couple of times, Barkley, right? This is where you start to look. Dominique Wilkins, where does he line up? Well, here's the thing you have to realize, folks, right off the jump. Every player that I just mentioned, besides Dominique, made it to at least one NBA final. And I think that is where, when you look at some of those older guys, they had to go through Jordan, right? Now these younger guys have to go through LeBron, right? If you want to look at like how you have to your pathway. But not Lillard, because Lillard was in the Western Conference pretty much the majority of his career, and LeBron was in the East. So to me, as great as Dame is, you can't put him in that pantheon of those great players of the 80s and 90s that didn't get to a finals, because for most part of them, a lot of them were Eastern Conference guys, or, in the case of Stockton Malone, they got to a final and they lost to Jordan in the finals. So to me, great career, but I wonder where he ranks in all-time great because of not winning a final, but also, in a lesser degree, in Portland, where does he rank with guys like Clyde Drexler and obviously Bill Walton?
Yeah, there's a lot to get here with Dame. We'll also head over to Coach's Corner during our show and talk about some of the Coach of the Year odds that are out. A lot of the NBA award markets have started to trickle out, and there are some sleeper names that you can keep your eye on, so we'll talk about that as well. But sticking with the Damian Lillard move, for anybody that might have missed it, Damian Lillard, after the buyout with Milwaukee, a free agent, was connected to some contenders. Apparently Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics was heavily recruiting Damian Lillard. I guess the idea for both players coming off of a torn Achilles is not this season, but next season, we're going to be locked and loaded, and you should be a part of what we could possibly do here in Boston. Miami and Dame have had an affinity for one another for a long time, and that was also tossed around as well. For Damian Lillard to land in Portland, it is jarring. And I don't really understand it from a Blazer perspective when I look at the contract. Damian Lillard wants to be in Portland, JY. That seems to be obvious. You mentioned that you said that's where he wanted to rehab. I think it is also one of the situations with his kids. It seemingly still live in Portland, so he wants to be close to his family. And that is all understandable. How did Damian Lillard just sign a contract where he's getting paid $18 million this upcoming season, where he is not projected to play any basketball? I do not understand how, after Dame forced his way out of Portland, which we backed and thought was the right move because it was time to see if Damian Lillard could win at a high level in a different situation. How did he then come back and get more money than I would imagine any team would have even potentially ever considered giving him? Damian Lillard, the next time he takes the floor, I believe will be 36 off a torn Achilles. And it's not as if Dame has been perfectly healthy during the 2 years that he played in Milwaukee before the torn Achilles. And I know that there's, some the blood clot stuff popped up, so I know that that's not all on him, but there's a couple, knickknacks here that happen. If Damian Lillard, people talk about LeBron playing on the vet min, okay? LeBron finished 6th in MVP. LeBron shouldn't be playing on the veteran minimum. If Damian Lillard went back to Portland ceremoniously and played on the vet minimum, that would feel a little bit more normal. It almost feels to me like he is in Portland because that's who offered him the biggest bag. Like it went right back to the bag, and Portland seems like, we're trying to, build on Scoot Henderson, and we got Drew Holiday to give him a defensive partner instead of Anthony Simons, who was taking away. And in 2 years from now, what, you're telling me Damian Lillard's going to be favored to win Sixth Man of the Year, or is Scoot Henderson all of a sudden going to be in a logjam at the point guard position? I don't understand this.
Well, this is part of Portland's problem. This is the same Portland team that took Donovan Clingan and then took Yang Hen-Sen in the first round of the draft. So Portland's done a lot of interesting stuff, and then the fact of the matter is Drew Holiday's there. How does it affect Scoot Henderson, right? Because you're probably going to start Shaden Sharp at the 2. So now you're bringing Scoot off the bench. You bring Drew off the bench. Is Drew going to be here all year? Is he going to be traded halfway during the year? And then there comes the interesting part that I just kind of came to my head. If you're Portland, you rehab Dame, right? And then he comes back the beginning of the 26-27 season, and then halfway through, you move him, because I do believe that third year may be an option. So to me, is this a short-term thing? Let's get him healthy, let's get him right, let's get him going, and let's ship him out, because that's the only other thing it makes sense, because when you look at the rest of the roster, it's a mismatch, right? So you got old guys like Drew Holiday, you got old guys like Robert Williams, right? You got old guys like Jeremy Grant, that could be the worst contract on the team of bad contracts. And then you got young guys like Shaden Sharp, Donovan Clingan, Scoot Henderson, Ryan Rupert, Chris Murray, and then now Yang Hen-Sen. Like, it's a team that it's stuck in going nowhere. But nowhere is, look at their win total, folks. Like, they could be one of the, 5 worst teams. Just look at the odds for them right now to make the playoffs. It's plus 490 with a win total of 33.5. Now, if you are Chauncey Billups, who I think is a good coach, I think you're going to have to.
I'm sorry, but what? This guy, how did he end up in Portland? He barreled his way out of Portland to give himself to win a championship. He did make all-star teams in both seasons in Milwaukee, and now he goes back to Portland. How?
I honestly think, Kevin, you made the best point. I think he got the best money, the most money from Portland, and I am going to maintain that I think he's going to go there. He's going to rehab 25, 26. He's going to start 26, 27. I'm telling you right now, trade deadline 26, 27, they're going to move him.
Is he going to ask out again? And that's the part of this that I think, I am not a Blazer fan, so I don't know exactly how they all feel, okay? But, this idea of, heroes welcome back Dame. What?
Well, think about this. He's hit some iconic shots in that franchise, but let's be honest. Besides those couple of shots, what have they done the last 25 years?
His exit, it was a bit ugly. He was desperate to go to Miami, and they refused to send him to his desired location. They absolutely refused it. And it's not like he's coming back to Portland after they've done this incredible heist on the Milwaukee Bucks and they've set themselves up for year after year after year. And
the crazy thing is, if you look at the way Portland played, they were actually pretty decent at the end of last year. They may have gone backwards.
So bizarre. We take a break. We move over to Bradley Beal next.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. Moss Pages. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. You're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid. And the Damian Lillard buyout was one where we thought, hey, would Dame end up with a contender for next season? And at one point, Dame and Miami, a lot of connections. He goes back to Portland. So then we move to Bradley Beal, who is supposed to be set up for this year. And I just can't help myself but bring up Miami because Miami keeps finding themselves connected to these guys and then ending up with absolutely zero of these players. They didn't apparently get close to Bradley Beal. In fact, it actually feels like Bradley Beal knew he was going to be a Clipper long before that buyout was finalized with the Phoenix Suns, considering the buyout tweet from Shams Charania was accompanied with the details of his Clipper deal. Look, I'm not tampering is what it is. It's a part of this league. It's just, if we're going to enforce tampering ever, this seems to be one of the more, obvious bits of tampering we've seen, though that isn't really what matters here. What matters is have the Clippers now put themselves in a position this offseason to actually feel like they can contend for a spot in the conference finals. Do they feel like one of the four best teams in LA? How do you feel, Coach, now with Bradley Beal joining Kawhi and James Harden in LA?
Well, we all know what it's going to come down to is, are they going to be healthy? Yeah. Because you're talking about every one of them between Harden, between Kawhi, John Collins has missed time over his years, Bradley Beal's missed time. So to me, it's more about can they stay healthy, which means it is the if factor. Now, let's just say that they do stay healthy. To me, people are going to say, well, was it a good trade trading Norm Powell for the return? No, and Kevin and I were talking about this a couple of days ago on the phone. If you peel it back and say you trade Norman Powell and you get back John Collins and sign Bradley Beal, it's actually a better move for the Clippers overall. Now, when you look at this team and their starting lineup, James Harden at the point, Beal to two. I'm going to say this. I've said this from the day he went to Phoenix. Bradley Beal is not a point guard. He's never been a point guard. He is an isolation guy that's got to get his ball in space. And obviously, look last year, 17 points per game, 3.7 assists. But he is a better off guard where he is a catch-and-shoot guy. So now you're looking at the Clippers with those two in the backcourt with Kawhi, John Collins, and Zubac, who I thought should have been the most improved player. And I think right now, based off what we don't know about LA with the Lakers, this is the best team in the Pacific Division. To me, they're better than Golden State. I think they hit you with more. And then you look at that second group that includes Brook Lopez, Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, Bogdanovich, and Batum. They're sneaky good. And they have one of the best coaches. So to me, they're kept the best coach in that division. No disrespect to Steve Kerr. I think Ty Lue is a better coach than him, personally. I don't care about the rings. So to me, I look at that team, and if they're healthy, yes, they're a top 4 team in the West. If they stay healthy, and we never know what's going to happen with that team, particularly with Kawhi.
So I am in the moment feeling like the Clippers might be right back to the Clippers of 2-3 years ago, where, yeah, they might win a bunch of games. Their win total is 49.5. They won 50 basketball games, I believe, this past season, and they did not get a lot of games out of Kawhi Leonard. They add in a Bradley Beal. They add in a John Collins. But there are still things that I have questions about. I have questions still about Harden crossing the finish line. That, obviously, we saw how that played out in Game 7 against Denver. I have questions about Kawhi ever coming close to crossing a finish line again, because did Kawhi look like himself as that series went on against Denver? No. He scored 39 in Game 2 on 79% shooting from the field. He was absolutely brilliant. Of course, it led people to overreact and say he's basically just as good as Michael on a per-game basis, and then Kawhi was never anywhere near as good as that again in the series. But now, with Bradley Beal, you sometimes get guys who end up in unfortunate situations and they don't learn appropriate lessons. It took, I feel, Russell Westbrook, right, JY, a little bit to figure out his new role in the NBA. And even still in Denver, there were moments where you're like, Russ, oh my, Russ. Bradley Beal's agent was quoted as saying, if you're going to have Bradley Beal on your team, you got to let Bradley Beal be Bradley Beal. And we think the Clippers are going to let Bradley Beal be Bradley Beal. Oh, so you think he's going to go back to what? Contending for a scoring title? Oh, great. So we've learned absolutely no lessons. We think that everything that played out in Phoenix was Phoenix's fault, and none of it was Bradley Beal's fault, who was largely unavailable, nowhere near as good. You can't be serious. Why, this was Devin Booker and Kevin Durant's fault. Please stop. So sometimes these things can be about like a vibe check. And I am sure Beal is like excited to be off of Phoenix because the Clippers absolutely are going to, seemingly provide him a winning situation or a chance to be in one of them. But also, like, Bradley Beal has decent odds to win 6th Man of the Year. Bradley Beal's not coming off the bench. You remember the Carmelo clip? Hey, yo, P, they want me to come off the bench. Someone try and tell Double B he's coming off the bench. It'll be double deuces, and he's going to get asked to get traded again. He's not coming off the bench.
No, he's not coming off the bench. And that's the thing. There are so many egos and personalities that this is where you have to see what Ty Lue is going to be able to do as a coach, because they could be a team that wins 55 games, or they could be a team that can implode in the middle of the season. And I'm telling you, the X factor out of all of them is John Collins. You think I'm crazy? He did average 19 and 8, had his highest three-point shooting season since his 3rd year. It could be intriguing if they can find and get him going.
We did hear what Coach thought about Ty Lue. Let's hear what Coach thinks about some of the top candidates for Coach of the Year next, right here on SportsGrid.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. We're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on SportsGrid, and the NBA's Coach of the Year award market is out and available. And at the top, a couple of names from the Eastern Conference. We'll talk through those options as we head over to Coach's Corner.
Welcome into Coach's Corner, and this is the perfect time as we come out of the offseason or the beginning of free agency to start looking at Coaching of the Year awards according to FanDuel Sportsbook. And we're going to focus, here are the odds right now. We're going to focus on the top two names. We'll do two names in the Eastern Conference this week, and then we'll do two next week in the West. Leader in the clubhouse, Jamal Mosley, Orlando Magic at plus 380, and Quinn Snyder at 5-1 with the Atlanta Hawks. Why? Let's start off with Jamal Mosley. Listen, I was saying this early on last year when they had the injuries to the oblique for both Banchero and Wagner, that I thought that he was the best coach in the league in regards to Coach of the Year awards. A team that was overachieving Orlando, but the injuries caught up to them. So now you look at an Orlando team coming into this year, and the biggest problem with Orlando was honestly their ability to shoot the ball from three, right? So you look at their win total right now at 50.5. To make the playoffs, obviously they're going to make it. To miss the playoffs, they're obviously going to make the playoffs. To reach the Eastern Conference Finals at 5-1, and to win the NBA Finals at 16-1. Why? Because they addressed their poor shooting, and that led with Desmond Bane in a trade with the Memphis Grizzlies, and then I think, and Kevin's going to say it in a second, absolutely stealing part of the draft by getting Jace Richardson, who was an absolute bucket getter and a shooter that now in Orlando with Bane, with Anthony Black, with Jalen Suggs, they can mismatch those guards to what he needs. And then you got a front court of obviously with Banchero, Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and the other Wagner comes off the bench. Kevin, there is a real reason why people are high on Orlando like I am. I think going into this year right now, they're the third best team in the Eastern Conference.
The reality for Orlando is the expectations are now heavy, not just due to the Desmond Bane trade or drafting of Jace Richardson, but just, hey, let's, see Paolo and Franz and Suggs be healthy, and that could be enough. And some of that might say, well, Jamal Mosley, if this team wins 50 games, is doing exactly what he should be doing. And you'd be right. That win total is 50.5. But that is 9 additional wins if they go under that win total and get to 50. The only team who has a win total where the expectation is that type of leap is San Antonio. and credit pie, a lot of that will be sliced over to Wemby's direction. That's where you start to make a Jamal Mosley case. But, Coach, as you said off the top, Mosley not too far out in front of another team that is supposed to make a leap in the East. That would be the Atlanta Hawks with Quinn Snyder at the helm.
Now, this is the interesting year because I think this guy, Trae Young, may have the most pressure in the Eastern Conference this year. Why? Win total. They had 40 wins last year. It's at 47.5, minus 650 to make the playoffs, plus 390 to miss it. And the win Eastern Conference are 9.5 to 1, 30 to 1 to win the world title. And if you really look at Trae Young, this is a critical year. Now, if they finally have addressed some things, they're better defensively. Great barrier reef, Dyson Daniels of the 2-guard to play along with Trae Young. You get Jalen Johnson, who exploded before the injury concerns. You get Kristaps Porzingis in a trade with the Boston Celtics as they're trying to obviously have to shave salary. And then you look at the pivot with Okongwu. But to me, it's what they did on the bench. Getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker, getting Luke Kennard in that second group, right? Zachary Richichet in his second year who had some big moments. Asa Noel, the rookie. So when you look at this team, Kevin, they at 47.5, if they don't make the playoffs, or if they are, let's say, a play-in tournament team, I'm going to say it, you change everything around multiple times. If they don't win this year, I think Trae gets on the block and gets traded next summer.
If they do win, maybe Quinn Snyder, though, will be in consideration. And maybe Jalen Johnson could win most improved. Between 25 to 1 and 40 to 1. I know last year averaged 19, 10, and 5, but only played 36 games. Could Jalen Johnson take another leap, be an all-star this upcoming season, and get himself in that race? It's part of the reason there's so much optimism in Atlanta. Not as much optimism in Philadelphia. We'll talk about it next right here on SportsGrid.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single-season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. You're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bench.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Walsh and Coach James Young with you here on SportsGrid. And We talked about the leaps that are anticipated for Orlando and Atlanta in the Eastern Conference. So a 50.5 win total, a 47.5 win total. The biggest leap actually expected by the books would be Philly, whose win total is 41.5 off of a 24-win season. That's about 17 wins that, 17, 18 wins that you'd be looking to add. The thing is, the still expectation in terms of number of wins is much lower than that of Atlanta or Orlando. For Philadelphia, they have now been in the news a little bit this past week. There was a Joel Embiid article I've seen a lot of people sing the praises for, just talking about everything that surrounds Joel Embiid being out there available and all of that. We also had a Paul George update, who underwent a procedure on his knee, and they believe, he can probably be healthy to start the season, but the most recent word was he'll be reevaluated prior starting to training camp. The Sixers are one of the most confounding teams to me in the East. I know there are plenty who have hand-waved this group, and they feel as if there is no way they will ever put it together. And I understand where you are coming from. But if we are to all agree, Coach, about the openness of this conference, due to the Halliburton injury, the Tatum injury, the Lillard injury, due to the uncertainty around Cleveland or the Knicks crossing the finish line, Detroit still being young, Orlando still being young, Philadelphia is relevant in this conversation. Because if you look back to last season's odds, the top of the East were three teams far and away: Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. Well, that group, that Philly group, is still intact. And yet their win total is a yes, no, will they be able to get over 500? What are your current feelings, JY, around this Sixers group?
I think if you look at a team like the Clippers and say we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt with guys that are injured a lot, then we need to do the same thing with the Sixers. And their win total's, 9 less?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, at the end of the day, they had guys that were injured, right? And I mean, listen, none of the three ended up the season playing, right? Between Maxey, Embiid, obviously, and PG, and you could add Jared McCain, who was going to be Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. So by that, it kind of helped them in a way address certain things by going to get Quentin Grimes, which obviously they got to figure out how they're going to re-sign him. Obviously, I think he's still a restricted free agent, but no one's got the money to pay him, so we fully expect him to be back with Philadelphia. And then you go get VJ Etchcombe, who came out of the draft. I'm like, I'd rather would have taken Ace Bailey. And then he shut me up with a 28-point performance to begin the Rocky Mountain Summer League. So when you look at Philadelphia and you say, okay, if we're going to do this with the Clippers, we have to do the same thing with the Philadelphia 76ers. So you put Tyrese Maxey at the point, right? Let's say everyone is healthy. You go 3-guard lineup, and then you put VJ Etchcombe with PG at the 2 and the 3, right? Obviously, Joel Embiid is the pivot, and you can do a lot of different ways. You can go small, you can go big, you can put Kelly Oubre, you can go really, really small, go Jared McCain, go with a really small lineup. They have pieces. So to me, when you look at this win total of 41.5, part of the reason why it's so low is because of the fact that they have to play New York and Philadelphia, New York, and Boston 10 times out of 82. But to me, if you really dig into this deeper, if you like the Knicks, and I think the Knicks are going to be good, it's either you take Boston or Philadelphia to go over their win total, because I don't know if you can get them both over the finish line. To me, I'm going to take Philadelphia. I have a feeling we're going to get a really motivated Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, let's be honest, shouldn't have played in the 2024 Olympics, should have been shut down and tried to play through it. He's been shut down. He's back. I think Maxey is a top 20 player in this league. I think Paul George as a, ready folks, third option is not terrible. I think it's a pretty good third option. Now, the fact that he shot only 35.8% from three is his second lowest total output in three-point shooting percentage since his rookie year. So he's got to shoot it better from three. I think he will because Embiid will take so much of the pressure off. But to me, it's the three young guards. It's Maxey, it's McCain, 4 young guards. It's Grimes, and it's Edgecombe. If they have the ability to knock down shots and play defense at the point of attack and prevent people from driving on them, I think this Philadelphia team goes over 41.5 wins. I think they comfortably make the playoffs. And then if I talked about Orlando being the third best team in the East, we should be looking at Philadelphia as healthy, as worse, in my opinion, the fourth best team.
I think the case that I would make on Philly, really, JY, is so when you're getting into the futures market, are you paying a premium, or do you feel like a team is being discounted? And to me, betting the Orlando Magic at 16-1 to win an NBA championship is a premium when none of that core has been able to win a playoff round. They're young, that's fine, but that is the reality of that situation. Where for Philadelphia, you are getting nowhere near you having to pay a top dollar. You're getting odds of Philadelphia lower than odds of Dallas. Dallas is in a much deeper conference in terms of the Western Conference. Dallas, we know, isn't going to get work out of Kyrie Irving this upcoming season. Dallas is going towards, and yes, obviously we think the world of him, but towards a rookie to be their second best player this year in terms of Cooper Flagg. I have seen big things out of not just Embiid, not just PG, but you mentioned Maxey. The interesting piece of Philly, JY, is how will they treat the regular season? Because if I tell you Joel Embiid plays 60 games, I think, in prior seasons, I would have been like, all right, that's not bad. We wish we could have got a little bit more. I now wonder if I feel that's too many. Why did he play 60 games? That's ridiculous. He shouldn't be playing 60 regular season games when we're thinking about the postseason. This Paul George update. Is Paul George going to be in that starting lineup week one? Is Joel Embiid starting this regular season, or is Andre Drummond going to be catching lobs from Tyrese Maxey? They are a team who I don't want to bet. So, yes, I agree with you, Coach, in that I would go over the win total, but I think you would agree with me, and I'm not interested in betting this team to win 42 games at minus 122. I'm more interested in 12-1 to win the East, 36-1 to win an NBA championship. Big, gaudy numbers in a conference that at least the consensus we could all agree on, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is if you're Philadelphia, you just want to get in. You just want to get in that top six. Yeah. I don't think you worry about that. And I still think they go over to 41.5 because I think they have to get to 44, 45 to be in that top six. So that's the thing. You play it out, and it's going to be up to Nick Nurse, not just how to deal with load management, but how to deal with minutes, how you sub. So interesting enough, as you watch games with Philadelphia this year, you got to get a read on, if I'm him, maybe more breaks for guys like Embiid. So playing games live may be the way to play Philadelphia, especially with Joel Embiid, because I think you give him more rest to save him for the stretch run.
All right, we're coming up against a break here, but the WNBA is going to be gearing up towards the second half of their season. Some of the key stories to watch, including Caitlin Clark going through another injury. We'll break that down after this break right here on SportsGrid.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. You're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on SportsGrid, and the WNBA at the midway point offers us right now one team that has already been able to reach the 20-win mark, and that would be the Minnesota Lynx. You look at the WNBA standings, and the 20 wins for Minnesota jumps out, but it's also the 500 record for Vegas, which is the same record as the Mystics. Coaches talked about it, the fact that Golden State has already been able to get through their win total. A surge from Phoenix despite some injuries where Alyssa Thomas has found herself a part of the MVP conversation. A team in Atlanta, who I remember Coach was really high on entering into this season, has made good on some of that hype, sitting right now with the 5th best record in the WNBA. There are a number of things, JY, that jump off of the page, but I do think the 20 wins for Minnesota, who last year narrowly lose in that championship game to the Liberty, game number 5, questionable call. I'm sure Lynx fans will remember forever. It's a Lynx team that has Nafisha Collier playing at that MVP level right now, is over minus 500 to win that award. How do you feel about the Lynx? Still not favored to win the title this year. Still trail the Liberty as they sit at 20-4 at the midway point.
Oh, they've had a fantastic start, but they've also had one of the easier schedules in the WNBA to start the season. And I'm going to say this right now. You'll probably hear me say this multiple times. I am looking at the number 4. That is the number of times that the Liberty and the Lynx will play this second half of the year, which is stunning that they did not play at all this early in the year. So that is a big storyline that we're going to look at for a Minnesota Lynx team that's been the best team in the WNBA. They've also been extremely healthy. They've had luck on their side. But you can't discount the fact that right now, Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. Liberty have been, after getting off, I think, to a 9-0 start, has really faded back since Jonquel Jones got hurt, although they've won their last 4 or so games going into the break. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. But to me, the reason why the New York Liberty still maintain themselves as the best team in the WNBA in regards to championship odds is if they get Jonquel Jones back. You could argue that they have 3 in the top 10. By the way, shout out to ESPN for a great job with your top 20 rankings. That was an absolute disgrace. And I want people to put your names on the damn article because y'all look clueless. But anyway, Jonquel Jones to me is a top 10 player. And you got to also mention Leona Fibic didn't miss time as well in the first half. She kind of came on strong at the break. So because of the fact of the Liberty have the third easiest schedule the rest of the way, the fact that they're going to get Jonquel Jones back, the fact that they've won 4 games in a row leading to the break is why you still see the Liberty right now, Kevin, as a favorite to win the WNBA title.
Here is the aspect of the Lynx that I was a little bit uncertain on. Some of it was about the 3-point shooting numbers that all popped off for all these key players on the team. But I was wondering if Napheesa Collier was not going to just win league MVP, but actually feel like she had an argument for best player in the world. And that's not a slight to her. It's A'ja Wilson is coming off of one of the greatest single seasons, you could argue the greatest single season just individually a player has ever had. I didn't know, could Napheesa Collier, who was trending in that direction, if you're going to follow this league, you kept your fingers on the pulse of what was going on in Unrivaled, and Napheesa was obviously incredible there. Could she feel like the best player in the world? And she does. She absolutely feels like that right now at the midway point. And I still think in this league, having the best player in this league means so much. Coach and I have already talked plenty about the Aces, and part of that struggle, it's not that it's A'ja's fault, but A'ja right now, while being clearly the best player on that team, is not the best player in the WNBA. And just that drop-off alone is something that Vegas is struggling to overcome. Can I ask you, Coach, how you feel about this Mercury group, who right now, Alyssa Thomas has the second best odds to win NBA MVP. We've seen her in these races before, and she's had to step up in the absence of Kalia Copper for a number of games, and more recently, Satu Sabally.
Yeah, I listen, before the season, the 2 teams that were high that I was going over on were obviously Atlanta and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And Phoenix has been absolutely dynamic. I think people got lost too much of the fact of Brittany Griner was getting up in age and Diana Taurasi was getting up in age, and I think they forgot about, number one, how good Kalia Copper was. But to turn around and get Alyssa Thomas as a Swiss Army knife to go along with Satu Sabally, it's been absolutely dynamic. Sammy Whitcomb coming off the bench, getting a little bit more time with the injuries, is a sharp shooting guard that comes off the bench and just knocks down threes. But it's DeWanna Bonner that swung me to think that, ready, folks, that I think if they play in a playoff series, I actually may take Phoenix over Minnesota. DeWanna Bonner coming off the bench. I don't know what happened with them and Indiana. Like, something ain't adding up, and we may not get the whole story. But homegirl got to her fiance, Alyssa Thomas, and dropped. DeWanna Bonner couldn't make a layup in Indiana. And she went there, and she gave him a 20-piece first game out. DeWanna Bonner is one of the greatest players in the WNBA history that nobody talks about. And if she's this DeWanna Bonner with the rest of this crew, they are the biggest threat in the Western Conference. Not only that, they could be the biggest threat to New York Liberty. Remember, they've played twice with everybody there. Well, second game not with Jonquel Jones. Mm-hmm. But Phoenix, 2-0 versus the Liberty this year.
Phoenix's resume is fantastic. Wins over the Liberty, the Aces, the Lynx, they have all of them. I'll just make a quick, to the Storm. Please stop losing some of the worst games of any team.
God,
like, they
unbelievable.
lost to Connecticut by double digits. They then lose at home to Washington. They just have they have such bad losses on that resume, but I still think that Storm ceiling is high, and I'm very interested in what Dominique Malonga is going to bring to the table the second half of the season. We're going to go to some NBA sleeper picks in the awards category. It's going to get tangy.
Need a social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. We're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I have been waiting all show for this segment. JY! Kevin Walsh. Some sleeper picks. Some names that jump out. Look like some value. Not locking in anything just yet. JY, I figured I'd give you honors. Give us a sleeper right now in the awards market. Someone that's jumping out to you.
For me, it's Cade Cunningham to win MVP. You're like, wait, Cade? I mean, first of the fact that he's at 35-1 is something. Now, to me, about Cade, it's always been about availability, right? He's missed so much time earlier on in his career. But after going through a couple of coaches, shout out Monty Williams, biggest fraud in professional sports history.
Stop.
I'm sorry, that was too much. I'm sorry, Monty. My bad. But getting J.B. Bickerstaff obviously unlocked him, and Cade and Detroit were really, really good the second half of the year. I look at the Detroit Pistons team that, in my opinion, they are the second best team in that division. They are better than Indiana. They are better than Milwaukee. I don't care what another basketball pundit, Kendrick Perkins, says. So to me, when I look at this team, if they could be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference and his stock continues to soar, I look at, for the value piece, Cade Cunningham being an MVP at 35-1, because if they're in that top 4 seed, he's going to lead the team in points. His assist numbers should be up. Jaden Ivey comes back, he's healthy, right? I think this is the year that Cade takes off and Detroit could be a top 4 team in the East.
I am someone who thinks Cade could eventually win a league MVP. I wonder if next year, is that on the board? I'm not sure. I certainly don't mind the number, though, JY, because if this team can really hit the ground running, right, again, like this notion of the openness of the East, right, if this ends up a 50-plus win basketball team, which is, I'm sure, kind of going to be somewhat of those expectations for Detroit, the win total, though, is 45.5. But, again, if you can get over that, I think he becomes really interesting. With that said, if you tacked on a 0 to your bet, that would be go from 35-1 to 350-1. And that still would be shorter odds than the name that I'm going to bring to the table. 500-1. NBA Most Improved Player. Bronny James. I mean, what else do we have to say? What have you not been tapped into the summer league? All of a sudden, we stopped going viral. because people don't get to bash on Bronny anymore. Might be the greatest 55th overall pick in the history of sports. My, oh my, does this guy got it going on? He's dominating Summer League. Dalton Connect is a thing of the past. Bronny looks like the best Laker from that class. Are my eyes deceiving me, JY? 500-1.
I tell you right now, K-Dub is
I get Coach in the dark for that for multiple days.
Listen, folks, I had no idea where Kevin was going. But now that he said it, I get it. Okay, so
let me make just a little more realistic case. In just this way, most improved player, there needs to be a level of notoriety. It's actually why being an all-star occasionally is tied to that. Bronny's not going to be an all-star. Bronny is one of the most notable names in the league, and legitimately going from people's conversations of why is he ever allowed on an NBA court to, no, Bronny's like the 9th man on the Lakers. That is a legitimate leap that I think people would genuinely respect quite a lot, JY. And you've said to me, from what you've seen from him in Summer League, you have been impressed. You feel like he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I think his ability to knock down the three-point shot is going to be the most important thing for Bronny. And if you really look at the depth of the Lakers, when you look at the fact of Luka, who does get hurt sometimes, to me, Gabe Vincent, who's been there, has been absolutely terrible. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm just coming at everyone in the last 2 segments. I'm sorry, Gabe Vincent. But at the end of the day, if this is going to work out, Gabe has not been good. Bronny has been better. And at the end of the day, if his ability to knock down... Listen, the one thing you know about Bronny James is he's going to defend at an NBA level. We know that. If he could be a 35% shooter from the three-point line with his defense and give you, 9-10 points a game, because of the name, that could be enough to get him in the conversation.
And truly, that is the reality of this situation. His name will make anything he does. No, Bronny playing in an NBA game and scoring 12 points, like in the flow of a game, would make headline news. 500-1 is just a little bit too long. No better way to end it for Coach James Young. I'm Kevin Walsh, right here on SportsGrid.
I showed you the Heisman odds a week or two ago, and they had Garrett Nussmeier as the second favorite behind Manning. So Brian Kelly's very excited to have Garrett back at school.
He is no athlete, in my opinion. You can quote me on that. Like, he is a clumsy white dude, and he sucked. I'm being nice now. Now all of a sudden you're talking about him being great? Oh, slow down there, Coach.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker, do you know, in those 2 years, actually makes more in his salary than the entire Miami Marlins payroll this year, which I think is at like $62 million. That's a 72.5. I'm just doing the math really quickly. So one guy is worth more than 25, but we know how bad the Miami Marlins is. But hey, I just talk hoops.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No superstar wants to go to Portland there, so you go, oh, well, Dame actually wants to be back here, and this is going to hurt us. It sort of brings back those vibes where Kobe Bryant was in L.A. Great basketball player, horrendous basketball team, but maybe he could sell a couple extra seats and be a star in the building. That's Dame. And also from a perspective of what Dame wants, Dame just doesn't care about championships, and that's okay. Like, he makes a lot of money. He can do that and continue to lose in Portland. Can have it both ways, I guess.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Really would love to know what Jawan Jennings is after. If I were San Francisco, I'd hate to lose him. Not that I think he's ever going to be their best receiver on this football team, but you have a lot of question marks, right? We don't know how good Ricky Pearsall is yet.
We are asking, like, if Ayuk comes back and is healthy, if McCaffrey can be healthy, all these things. So why not just take the thing that you know works and just keep it?
Game time decisions, only on